Okay, I started making this video and it went off the rails. Rambled on about the VA for a while. Subject I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. And, I mean, it's almost a why. I don't understand why people don't say this. Some of this stuff, I mean, people have said, but there's a problem in the United States of America with criminal conduct on the part of young black people, particularly males, but females as well. I mean, good God, how many looting videos do we have out there? And shit like that. Okay? The prosecutors and I guess it comes down to the prosecutors aren't doing anything about it. Or aren't doing a sufficient amount about it. It's basically they're condoning it, is what it amounts to, because people keep doing it, they keep getting away with it. As far as I know, they don't face much of any consequences, and they've basically decriminalized criminality, which is insane. And they want to say, well, it's racially biased. It's kind of, that's something you got to think about. If they will say, well, it's racially biased, which means that, hey, these white guys over here, they have a behavioral pattern, which is this, and it's, slanted. Well, wait a minute. Why can you say that about white folk, but if the black folk is breaking the law, you can't say, well, they have a behavioral pattern that, isn't good. Yeah, that's something to think about. Anyway, it ain't good for nobody. If you got these kids out there, looting and going and what do they call it? It's not really a flash mob, but just swarming in on a business and robbing it. That's not serving the community, and letting them get away with it is not serving them. I'm not saying that I want them all punished and hurt or anything, but they got to be punished. They got to be punished to teach them right from wrong. I mean, what, huh? Whatever happened to that? You do wrong, you face the consequences. That not presenting that as the reality of their lives is not doing them a service. Letting them get away with the shit is not helping them. It's not helping anybody. And there's something systemic. They talk about systemic racism. Well, I'm going to tell you about what I think systemic racism is. Remember the George Zimmerman thing? Okay, I didn't know what happened. I used to watch that on TV, and when I was in the gym, but the sound wasn't on, so I would only see this George Zimmerman guy in a picture of Trayvon Martin, this little baby-faced kid, and then this George Zimmerman looked like I don't know what. When I found out, oh, well, the white guy killed the black guy, I'm like, who's the white guy? But when I looked into it, I looked at every detail. I looked at the evidence. I probably knew that case better than George Zimmerman's defense team. In some ways. In other ways, they dug into stuff I didn't have access to. But, I mean, what happened that night, step by step, him getting out the car and all that stuff, I had that down cold. I really retraced it and studied it carefully. And I came to the conclusion that this was not George Zimmerman just hunting him down and killing him. Trayvon Martin attacked George Zimmerman, and George Zimmerman defended himself. And I don't think George Zimmerman, that was his first, that wasn't his first go-to. I think that came when he was pushed to the limit. When, you can kill a man by slamming his head against concrete pavement. And that's what Trayvon Martin was apparently doing. He was a lot bigger than George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman wasn't a tough guy. He was trying to be, just because he felt like he had to stand up to the thuggery that's going around. Trayvon Martin was a misguided kid. He had good things and bad things about him. And sorry, he went and got himself killed. Sad thing, But the way the media handled it, they sold this thing as something completely different than what it was, and they fanned the flames, and they got the hatred going, and the mass protests and riots. I don't remember how many riots were the George Zimmerman thing, but there was some of that shit going on. I remember a guy got beat up with a hammer over this, and other stuff happened. And all the, what's that clown's name, Al Sharpton, and all these other race bait pimps come out the woodwork and yammering on about it, and it wasn't true. And then we get to remember Philando Castile, or whatever the hell his name was, up there in, I think it was Minnesota, and his girlfriend streamed his dying on Facebook or something like that. She live streamed it, and she said, "Oh, he was a good guy," and blah 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 blah. Well, that thing don't add up neither to what they presented it as. Just a cold-hearted cop went and gunned down the guy. The way it looks to me is the most likely thing that happened was Philando Castile was drawing on that cop, and the cop did exactly what he had to do. And I'm pretty sure Philando Castile was the guy who robbed the store that the cop was trying to investigate the robbery of that store when he pulled him over. But the cop wasn't even a white guy. His name is Yanez. That was his last, Geronimo Yanez, something like that. Geronimo. He's Mexican heritage anyway. But hey. Barry Zero's what I call it, what's his name, Barack Obama. Barry O is what he called himself back when he was in Harvard, smoking dope in the videos, the video of him smoking dope in Harvard, talking about that shit. And which reminds me, I got kicked out of the United States Army the second time I was in. I got an honorable discharge. It was the most fucked up thing in the world. It was totally political. Prior use of marijuana before entering the service. But there's Barry Zero in Harvard about the same time. He's president. That's some bullshit. So anyway, Barry went out there and just said, "We've had enough of this. This is a horrible thing. We can't tolerate, the police killing the black people." Before he knew any of the facts. Fanned it up, got people all riled up. Not knowing the facts, going out there and selling a narrative that is a lie. And that's hate spewing. When you start lying to people to get them all riled up about stuff and to divide us on the basis of race and claim that people are doing things on the basis of race that are not doing, that are bad things, you're a hate spewer. You're the one committing. If you want, I don't believe hate crime is a good idea, because it's thought crime. It's getting inside your head and trying to police what's going on inside your head. And hate speech is even worse. But if there's a hate crime, the hate crime was committed by Barack Obama, the mainstream media, and all the people who are fanning this thing. And there's a bunch of other ones out. I remember Michael Brown and all that. You can go back, and there's so many of these cases that just ain't what they said they were. But George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose. You look into it. You look at the actual autopsy and the toxicology reports and stuff. Boy had 3 times as much fentanyl as would kill him in his blood. And he was already saying that he couldn't breathe when he was in the cruiser. When the police were trying to move him around and stuff. And he's freaking out. Yeah, he was probably scared of shit, because he apparently he had ingested some of this fentanyl. So, yeah. Now, I will grant you that Chauvin is the cop that held him down. This is not a comfortable way to be held down, but that wouldn't have killed him. But people were there looking at George Floyd saying, "He's dying. Come on. You're killing the guy." Now, technically he wasn't killing him, but he wasn't rendering aid. And when there's people there saying, hey, this guy's turning blue, he's dying, it's about time the cop's going to have to stop and think that I need to render aid. I need to do something other than pin this guy down. I think they were waiting on an ambulance, but and so I think he's guilty of something, but he ain't guilty of murder. But they went. To this day, you don't see the media talking about that. Nobody. Not even Tucker Carlson. Sean Hannity knew it. He knew about the fentanyl. Lots of people do. And all the riots, shit, just went wild that summer. And it was insane, out of control, and a lie. You ain't doing nobody no good. You ain't addressing the problem, okay? People still dying of fentanyl overdose. All you're doing is making it hard for police to do their job and preventing people from addressing the real problems that are there and making young black people, especially young black people, resentful and hateful of the police or hateful of authority. And you know what? To a large extent, that's the goal. They want to undermine societal authority in the minds of these young black people so they become unruly, so that they become criminals. They don't love you, man. Just because they're, pandering to you don't mean they love you. They're just taking you for a fucking ride, man. So, you look at the murder rate among young black men. It's crazy. I mean, I think in 1 year maybe more young black men are killed by other young black men than black people were lynched in the whole Jim Crow period of lynching. And in my opinion, this all that I just said is why that's happening. The undermining of authority, and I mean the lack of fathers in the black household. I mean, lots of us have broken homes and shit don't work out right. But that male father figure, male authority, adult male authority is something. Kids need that. And if they ain't getting it, they're going to act out until somebody gives it to them. And that's why they get in trouble. Now, I got in trouble. A crazy thing happened. I got in a pissing contest with a woman who had her ex-husband's name tattooed on her chest, who was an MMA fighter, the husband was, and she's a nut. Try to run her over with my bands, and a couple people lied and said that I did try to do it. And when they finally looked at all the evidence and everything, they said, ridiculous, there's no way I did it. And I mean, the whole thing was a joke. But anyway, it went away. But in the meantime, I get taken down to central booking. That gave me some insight into what's going on with these guys. And I mean, I've been around D.C. and I've been around black people a lot, and sometimes in the saltier parts of town, for various reasons. Being homeless and all that. I spent some time in D.C. homeless. So I got some insight into their world. It ain't like I ain't, I've been out there in some all-white town in West Virginia, never seen a black person or something like that, or, I got connections. And anyway, but what I saw down there was all these young men. Every third word out of their mouth was nigga, 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 nigga. I mean, they couldn't finish a sentence without throwing the word nigga in there. There's something wrong with that culture. It's something I got no control over. I can't fix that, you know. But they're focusing on their role as inferior. It's viewed as inferior by the greater society. I mean, that word, that's what that word, you know, I can see where you use it humorously once in a while or something. But, I mean, it's intense. This repetition, this obsession with it. That, it needs to be addressed. People have. I mean, that's one of the, I'm reading my notes backwards. My notes went, and my top note is that, you know, black people do try to talk about this. A lot of times they get shut down. You know, I could say, well, how come ain't nobody talking about this? Well, there probably are other people who want to say the kinds of things that I'm saying, but they're not being heard because, well, mainstream media shuts them down, because mainstream media really hates the people I'm talking about. They want to destroy those people. They want to destroy the culture, and they want to use those people as a weapon against people like me. You know, against white people. Yeah, it's all about control. And they ain't working in the best interest of anybody. So what else I got here? You know, when you let the criminals get away with the crimes, you're not helping the criminals. You're not helping these kids. They're going to escalate. They're going to get away with more and more until they finally get something that they, you know, a bullet. When they get to a bullet and it stops them, okay. Or they kill somebody or do something, you know, really outlandish that does get them time. They're going to keep going until they hit that. If you nip it in the bud, if there are consequences for bad, you know, little bad behavior, they ain't going to go to the big bad behavior. So I don't even know what to say. I think I'm not getting really the point that I want to make across. But, I don't know. I don't know what to say, because some of what I said has probably been said before, but I don't think you're going to get the whole piece of what I went through here, which isn't that complicated, and it's not that, you know, far. When I look at all the pieces and all the evidence, it's pretty much blatantly clear. So why ain't you hearing it? Why is nobody saying this stuff? Because it's... When I try to say this stuff, you're going to call me racist. Call me what you will. I'm saying it because I think it's the right thing to say. You get a lot of that, you know, where you think what you're doing is the right thing to do. You know, you take a position, maybe for your own interest. Because I'm a white guy. I mean, I ain't ashamed of being white. My ancestors, you know, like I said in another video, one of my ancestors, hey, the woman who brought slavery, the man that brought slavery to the Chesapeake was a woman. One of my ancestors, actually. And I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know what the institution of slavery looked like at the beginning. I don't know who was actually going out over there and rounding up people. I mean, the image I have is they go over there, they get some guy like Al Sharpton looking guy. He's just a huckster, you know, just a total lying son of a bitch. And he tells these guys in Africa who aren't doing too good, and they got bouts of hunger and that you know, maybe live in straw huts and stuff. And they say to him, "Hey man, you can get on this boat here. You go over there, and all you gotta do is, you know, pick some flowers. You know, plant some plants, and we'll put you in a brick building. You're gonna be living in a brick building, yeah. And you're gonna get this cotton clothing. You're gonna have a lot of cotton clothing, yeah. Come on over, and we're gonna take care of you. All you gotta do is, you know, work, put some crops in the dirt and harvest them when they're done, and you'll be living out in the hog." they didn't tell you there's chains in that brick building that you're going to be chained to, and that you're going to be whipped if you don't do what you're told to do, and all that shit. They just get you on there. Who was it that actually sold it, to the people? Because I do not believe you can just go round up a bunch of people and say, hey, you're coming with us. We kicked your ass. I mean, some of that did it. It did happen in history where, the defeated people have a war, and the defeated people, if they didn't chop off their manhood, the males, and take the women, they became slaves. They enslaved the conquered. That was a pretty common thing. So maybe some of that went on in Africa, where one tribe would go out and kick the other tribe's ass and round them up and sell them to the whoever knows. I don't know who was actually doing the transaction, but then these people that were just starting out down there, did they even consider the institution that they were creating that was going to last? For centuries, I guess. What? I'm not doing the math right now. Anyway, from 1620, something like that, to that is actually early for what I'm talking with Anna Varlet Hack is the one woman I'm talking about. Hey, my great grandma got her own Wikipedia page. Some of it's impressive. I mean, she was a very impressive person. Slavery wasn't a good thing. Like I say, I don't know what the hell she was thinking. Was she concerned about the well-being of these people at all? Did she think she was helping these people? Actually, get, kind of like the same sales pitch I just gave to what they might have done to get people to get on a boat willingly. So, who knows how it started? It was a different world. This is a world where, divine right of kings was not questioned. This is before, Descartes was writing his philosophy, and he was one of the first, well, Bertrand Russell counts him as the first Enlightenment philosopher. So these ideas of rights of man and things like that, they hadn't even been penned. They hadn't been committed to paper. These ideas of civil rights and human rights and equality and all that, those things hadn't even come to mind in a formal way in any civilization that I know of. I do have some trouble with, I'm not a Christian, but if you look at the Bible, how they got slavery out of Christianity kind of boggles the mind. But anyway, it happened. All right, I can't undo it, and I regret that happened, but there's a whole lot my people have done that's good, including, you go to the other side. I talked about this in the other video. My grandma Hatton was a heck, which heck comes from hack, and she was the simplest, small town woman, mild-mannered, dignified. Just, you would never have guessed that she was Virginia gentry, high Virginia gentry. And I mean, her just about a couple generations removed from that. And I wonder, I don't even know if she knew that, because during the Civil War, I think that the Hecks that I descend from, I think they were already Yankees, so they might have distanced themselves from that heritage. But she married a Hatton, and Robert Hatton was an abolitionist. He's my first male Hatton ancestor that came to America. His father was Joseph Hatton. He remained in Ireland. They're from Northern Ireland. His mother brought him over here when he was a teenager. His mother was a Quaker minister, and he was an abolitionist right here in Maryland. Not, I mean, I'm amazed. I could drive there in half an hour, where he's buried, and where he did his abolitionist work and stuff. So that's part of my ancestry too. I ain't ashamed of it. You know, you inherit what you inherit. What were your ancestors doing 400 years ago? And it's complicated. So you can't just go say, oh, well, there's a white guy. It's his fault that the black guy's got, problems now. Because I mean, this is one thing I totally agree with, what's his name, that Islam guy, Farrakhan. He's like, you can't go waiting around for whitey to fix your shit. You're going to have to fix it yourself. And they did that Million Man March a long time ago, and people were mocking it and stuff. That was actually a very good thing. It changed a lot for the better. And I'm going to say something else that just come to mind. One thing that just gutted the soul of the black community was the cocaine epidemic, the crack cocaine epidemic. And that was the CIA. That was George Herbert Walker Bush, William Jefferson Clinton, and people surrounding them, Ollie North, and some people thought, oh, well, we're doing this because we're fighting communism, and that's how they sold it. But the reason that the top dogs in that whole thing were doing the cocaine smuggling and the drug running, and I'm more talking about C-130s full of drugs, cocaine, and even up into the 2000s, we find planes that are connected to these people filled with tons of cocaine. That one was seized in Mexico, and another one crash landed in Mexico. And so you wonder how many have gotten away, and how many ships. They've seized these ships with tons of cocaine on them, and they're connected to the top echelons, not Trump. That's what you got to think about. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I don't think Trump's one of them. And that's the problem. That's why they hate Trump. It wasn't that Iran-Contra thing. That was the oops, we got caught, so we got to come up with a story so we can keep doing it. The reason these people do it is the reason that drug smugglers smuggle drugs. They do it for money. They do it for power. They do it to corrupt people, to control people. They're crooks, they're criminals, they're gangsters. So we've got a kleptocracy. We've got a government ruled by gangsters. And they fucked up the black community. I mean, they fucked up my community. They fucked up my white friends. My white friends are dead largely because of that bullshit. So, heads need to roll on that one. But I remember that, things changed, and then they introduced the gangster rap, and the black kids dancing around in the videos with their automatic weapons and shit. Yeah. That shit needs to be addressed. Okay, I'm done.